2 o'clock and it's news time.
From the National Service of the Liberia Broadcasting System, this is Newsline. 30 minutes of news from the news department about Liberia and the rest of our one world. Today is Tuesday, November 8, 2022. With this afternoon's presentation, I'm Tetee, Gebro. And the headlines: President George Weah wants world leaders live up to commitments in mitigating devastating effects of climate change. Government commits 51 million United States dollars towards the 2023 general and presidential elections. Senate confirms Jeff Dwana as Liberia's new ambassador to the United States and away from Liberia. United Nations welcomes release of adopted Nigerian teenagers by gunmen in Katsina State. Also coming up is a commentary titled Giant Steps Towards Restoration of Electricity as Liberia signs landmark power deal with Ivory Coast. Sports, the news in simple Liberian English, French, a report of today's weather are all packaged. First, Zokwe Beslokanen sets the pace with a bulletin of news.
President George Weah has reminded world leaders to actualize promises and pledges made during the COP26 climate summit held in Glasgow last year. President Weah said last year they acknowledged shortcomings in inequity and admitted the shortfalls in meeting the targets for reducing carbon emissions. He added that the world leaders have reconfirmed their commitments to contribute higher levels of financing to support efforts on mitigating the devastating effects of global climate change. The Liberian leader was speaking Tuesday at ongoing United Nations Climate Summit known as COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
As we meet in Sharm el-Sheikh today, we are observing, waiting and hopeful that our promises made in Glasgow will be kept and pledges fulfilled.
President Weah said they also reviewed and re-evaluated their chances of limiting the rise in global warming to meet the temperature target of 1.5 degrees centigrade by 2030. The Liberian leader, however, expressed sadness that inequity and imbalance still remain between high and low emitters in a climate change architecture. He said the financial flows within still remain disproportionate and unfair to low-emitting countries, especially countries with significant carbon capture capability, which are expected to reserve their forests without commensurate benefit to their populations. At the same time, Maritime Commissioner Eugene Nangwe is calling for concerted efforts in the fight against climate change. Commissioner Nangwe said, as a major ship registry and developing country, Liberia remains dedicated to implementing policies and measures put in place by the International Maritime Organization to ensure decarbonization and reduction of greenhouse gas emission from shipping. He said on the global level, Liberia supports various efforts on climate change, mitigation and adaptation measures, including the Green Shipping Challenge. He was speaking at a green shipping initiative on the sideline of COP27 climate summit taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt. According to Minister Nangwe, Liberia Ship Registry continues to play a leading role in green shipping initiatives and finding emission reduction solutions for ship owners. He added that it is now time to move from negotiation to implementation. Liberia will for the first time take charge of funding its presidential elections next year. Unlike during previous administrations, the country will fund its major elections independently with limited support from international partners and the donor support. The disclosure was made by Finance Minister Samuel Twe in a major breakaway from the past where national elections were jointly funded by government and international partners.
We have mobilized an additional 120 million that was not there. For this year, We are constrained to spend 51 on election. We have to fund our election. Donors have been funding our election. This is the first time that the government is funding its own election. Somebody has to say thank you. You are becoming more responsible.
Minister Tetee described the historic move by the government as a strategic step towards building democratic independence. At the same time, Finance Minister Tetee says Liberia's resounding success in the 2023 Millennium Challenge Corporation (MCC) scorecard has unraveled negative propaganda and news of an underperforming economy. The MCC scorecard has shown that Liberia made real progress in certain areas, but specifically in tackling inflation and corruption to ensure macroeconomic stability. Minister Tetee said the scorecard is a true revelation that government's pro-poor agenda for prosperity and development is resonating well.
Last year, the president declared that because there was a lot of propaganda about the government governance, the president declared the year of governance in 2022, and that all heads of entities had to hunker down and get the governance right. The word MCC has just put Liberia's governance on the globe. That is the biggest thing.
According to him, government has committed itself to increasing and prioritizing human capital investment, which could make Liberia more competitive for another Compite grant. The finance minister, however, said, contrary to what is being widely speculated, that the MCC scorecard is just a mere bluff. The scorecard is an abstract display of the actualization of President Weah's pro-poor agenda. The finance minister spoke Tuesday on the Super Money Show. Meanwhile, Finance Minister Tetee has clarified that Liberia had never lost the Millennium Challenge Corporation Compite. Minister Tetee said the first Compite for Liberia started 2016 and ended 2021. He said every Compite is signed for a 5-year period, and as such, Liberia was able to pass the MCC scorecard for a second time. Minister Tetee said during the 5-year period, the government was not able to pass what he calls eligibility scorecards. He said the failure of government to pass in prior scorecards does not amount to Liberia losing the MCC Compite. Minister Tetee said the recent MCC scorecard has brought what he calls a reputational change to the government in the international community.
Biggest thing with the MCC, why it's true that it puts us